An actor when I was about 12 years old. My school did excerpts from the musical Jesus Christ Superstar, and my brother played King Herod, and so he brought the video of Jesus Christ Superstar home, of the original film 1973 starring Ted Neeley as Jesus, and I watched it obsessively. And I mean, I've seen that film hundreds of times, and I kind of already was kind of interested in performing at 12, but I don't know how you can know you want to be an actor, because I'm not from an acting background or family. I had no idea how you get into it. But anyway, I watched this film, I became obsessed with musicals. And Ted Neeley and Jesus Christ Superstar have always been something that's very special to me. And the guy, Ted Neeley, that plays Jesus, to this day, he is still doing, he's about 74, 75 years old now. He still does concerts all over playing Jesus. And 3 years ago, they were doing a concert at the theatre in Rome. What's it called? The Teatro...
Sistina.
Huh?
Sistina.
Yes. So 3 years ago he was doing that, and I decided to come over to Rome and see the musical so I could see him live on stage. And at the end of the performance, I waited outside after the theatre because I wanted to try and meet him. And some of the dancers from the show started coming out, and I started speaking to them, and I just casually dropped into conversation that I had done a musical in the West End of London, which generally people outside of London find quite impressive, regardless of whether it is or not. So then they said, "Oh, do you want to come for drinks with us, and then you can meet Ted later?" So I ended up meeting Ted Neeley later on in the night, and he sat with me. Bearing in mind he was about 73 at this point, he sat with me at 3 o'clock in the morning on the curb, on the pavement outside the theatre for almost 2 hours, just speaking to me about his life, how he got the part of Jesus, what it meant to him. I told him what it had meant to me, and it was just you know, because they say don't meet your heroes, but this was an example where it was amazing to meet your hero. So, and I'm going to end that story without saying anything else. Thank goodness for that. Thank you.
It's a great story. It's a great story. I'm trying to think what I can possibly say about it. Yeah, well, there was a story from when I did The Hobbit, and I apologise to anybody that may have heard this before. It concerns an evening that I had with Peter Jackson and 3 or 4 of the other cast members, where we were brought to a huge aircraft hangar. And in the aircraft hangar, Peter Jackson is essentially somebody who has the biggest toy collection, toy box in the world. It's just ridiculous what he has. He has a full-size train that runs around his property in New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, it's massive. It's not a miniature railway, it's a full-size train that goes around his property, yeah. And he's got his own air force. He's reconstructed all of the First World War aircraft, and he has about 20 or 30 of those that he flies around. Oh yeah. He does all this sort of thing. And so we were invited to this hangar to fire all these machine guns. He has this enormous machine gun collection. And he laid them all out, so there was every imaginable machine gun that you can think of. Firing blanks, obviously, but anyway, blanks still, they're everything other than carrying a bullet. But so when you fire them, it's the real thing. And we fired these machine guns, all that 3,000 rounds of ammunition we fired. He'd warned the police in advance that this was, because this was a residential area, okay? It was a residential area. We weren't in the middle of nowhere. So we were firing 3,000 rounds of ammunition at about 9 o'clock in the evening. They told the police that we were rehearsing and researching a film, so they allowed that to happen. Now, in the aircraft hangar, there was a full-size Lancaster bomber, there was a Mosquito bomber, there was all sorts of other paraphernalia, and then he pointed over to a tank. And there was a Second World War German tank in the hangar, okay? And he said, and Peter sort of talks like this. He's got a kind of nasally, sort of slightly hissing voice. And he said, should we go and get in the tank? So we piled on the tank. I got in the turret. He got in the driving seat, and we started to drive around the hangar in a Second World War Panzer tank. Okay, and that's very, interesting. And then he took a right turn, and we ended up driving around the car park of the hangar. And at the end of the car park was an athletics centre where two men were playing basketball. And these guys are playing basketball, completely oblivious to the world. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. And amazingly, they didn't hear this tank coming towards them. Because you may not be familiar with the sound of a tank, but they're very loud. They are very, very loud. And so we're coming towards them, and we were as far as I am away from the front row of this auditorium when they turned around. And they looked around, and there was a massive tank gun barrel pointing at them, with me standing in the thing like this, looking at them, Peter Jackson driving it. And they literally looked and went, dropped the basketball. Peter then took it upon himself to turn right out of the car park onto the road. So now we're driving all around the residential area that we're in. People are coming out of their houses. We're flattening the tarmac. I mean, it was just mayhem. They're coming out of the gardens, twitching the curtains, and I couldn't resist, and I do apologise to any Germans in the audience in advance, but I couldn't resist standing in the turret and saying, relax, go back to your homes, we are just visiting. You will be joining your friends soon. And then the police were called. Then the police were called. And the police arrived. Oh yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good, explaining why we were driving a tank around at 9 o'clock in the evening in residential Wellington. But yeah, I think you got a big bill for that. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. That's what happened.
Fellas, I think I have some more friends.